Have you ever faced a moment where your heart felt so heavy, where the world seemed to collapse on your shoulders, and you wondered, how will I ever get through this? Every soul experiences this. Life, by its very nature, is filled with trials, delays, disappointments, and challenges. But hidden within every challenge is an opportunity to rise, to strengthen your faith, and to discover the beauty of Sabr, the virtue of patience. Patience is not about simply waiting, it is about how you wait. Anyone can sit in silence, but only the strong can endure trials with dignity, hope, and trust in Allah. True Sabr is a shield. It protects your heart from despair, your tongue from complaint, and your faith from breaking. It transforms pain into perseverance and tests into triumphs. Without patience, life becomes unbearable. With patience, even the heaviest burden feels lighter. The prophets, the most beloved of creation, endured trials far greater than ours, yet they responded with unwavering patience. From the patience of Prophet Ayyub as in illness to the patience of Prophet Yusuf as in betrayal and imprisonment, their stories are not just history, they are guiding lights for us today. They remind us that patience is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength, because it means surrendering the outcome to the one who knows best. My brothers and sisters, Sabr is not just a virtue, it is a lifeline. It is the rope you hold onto when everything else falls apart. It is the key that unlocks the doors of relief, mercy, and success. If you learn to embrace patience, you will never feel broken again. Today, let us journey together to understand the real essence of Sabr, not just as a word we repeat, but as a powerful force that can transform our lives. When we think of patience, many people imagine sitting silently, doing nothing, waiting for life to pass by, and enduring pain without movement. But this is not the patience that our faith calls us to embrace. Real patience is not a passive state. It is not weakness. It is not sitting back and accepting defeat. Instead, patience is an active and powerful quality that brings strength to the heart and mind, because it is rooted in reliance upon Allah Almighty. It is not about inactivity, it is about controlling yourself, holding yourself firm, and continuing to move forward in a way that pleases your Creator. Consider this: when a calamity strikes, when someone hurts you, or when a door in life closes, patience does not mean you just sit there and do nothing. It means you take the blow with dignity, you restrain your tongue from complaining, you guard your heart from resentment, and you place your trust in the plan of Allah. Patience is choosing not to retaliate in anger when provoked, but instead responding with wisdom. Patience is refusing to fall into despair when things don't go your way, but instead striving to keep hope alive, knowing that Allah's timing is perfect. That is not weakness, that is strength of the highest order. Patience requires effort. It requires courage. It requires an inner strength that says, I will not allow this difficulty to break me. I will not let my pain turn me into someone bitter. I will remain steadfast, because I know Allah is with me. It is far easier to lose patience, to scream, to complain, or to give up. That requires no effort. But to remain calm, to persevere, to continue making dua, to continue striving even in hardship, that is true strength. And Allah promises to be with those who are patient. Think of a person climbing a steep mountain. With every step their legs burn, their breath becomes heavy, and the temptation to stop becomes stronger. But what keeps them going is the vision of the summit, the knowledge that the struggle will lead to something beautiful. Patience in life is like that climb. It is not standing still at the bottom. It is moving forward, even when it is painful, because you trust the destination Allah has prepared for you. This is why patience is active. It is constant perseverance with faith in the unseen. Our beloved Prophet said, the real patience is at the first strike of a calamity. Why? Because that is the moment when emotions are strongest, when the pain feels unbearable, when anger or despair is most likely to control us. To remain firm at that first strike is not passive, it is discipline. It is the heart choosing trust over doubt, the soul choosing reliance over rebellion. This shows us that patience is not just about waiting for life to get better. It is about how you handle yourself when life is at its worst. Every one of us will face moments where patience is tested. Maybe you are waiting for a prayer to be answered. Maybe you are holding on through financial struggles. Maybe you are enduring injustice. Or maybe you are carrying the grief of losing someone you love. In those moments, patience does not mean you sit back and let life crush you. It means you keep praying, you keep striving, you keep walking on the path of goodness, even if it feels like the world is against you. That is real Sabr. Patience is also tied deeply to reliance on Allah. When you are patient, you are in fact saying, Ya Allah, I trust you. I trust that you know better than me. I trust that there is wisdom in this test. I trust that relief will come at the right time. This reliance, or tawakkul, makes patience a source of peace instead of pain. It allows you to carry the burden without feeling crushed. It transforms trials into opportunities for closeness to Allah. And when you combine patience with reliance, you will find that your heart no longer panics at delay. Your soul no longer breaks at hardship, because you know that nothing happens except by His will, and His will is always for your ultimate good. So patience is not silence. Patience is strength. It is movement in the right direction while trusting Allah with the results. It is guarding yourself from negativity while continuing to do what is right. It is not giving up. It is not falling into hopelessness. Rather, it is the art of remaining calm, hopeful, and steadfast, even when the storm is raging around you. And the one who masters this form of patience is not weak. They are among the strongest of believers, because they live every moment with the conviction that Allah is with those who are patient. When a difficulty comes into our lives, our first reaction is often pain, confusion, or even frustration. We wonder why this is happening, why life seems so unfair, or why our prayers have not yet been answered. Yet if we pause and look deeper, we begin to see that every hardship is not just a random event. It is carefully placed by Allah, with wisdom that may be hidden from our eyes at that moment. And within that hardship, if we embrace it with patience, there lies a blessing and a lesson that can transform us completely. Life has a way of teaching us things that comfort never can. If everything went our way, if every dua was answered instantly, if every path was smooth and easy, we would never grow. We would never learn resilience. We would never taste the sweetness of faith. We would never understand the power of turning back to Allah. Hardship humbles us. It brings us to our knees. It opens our eyes to our dependence on our Creator. That in itself is a blessing, because it draws us closer to Him. And closeness to Allah is the greatest blessing a believer can ever have. Think about the times you have struggled in your life. Perhaps you faced financial loss, illness, betrayal, or loneliness. In those moments, didn't your duas become more sincere? Didn't your heart feel softer in prayer? Didn't you realize the value of things you once took for granted? This is how hardships carry hidden blessings. They break the illusions of this world and remind us what truly matters. They purify us from arrogance, from pride, from relying too much on material possessions or people. They push us to seek Allah like never before. One of the most beautiful things about trials is that they are tailored for each person. What you are going through is not random. It is specifically designed for you, for your growth, for your purification. Allah knows what each heart needs. For one person, hardship might teach patience. For another, it might teach gratitude. For another, it might teach humility. We often focus only on the pain of the trial, but behind that pain is a tailor-made lesson, a gift that shapes us into better believers. Even the smallest inconveniences carry wisdom. When you are stuck in traffic, delayed in your plans, or face minor frustrations, these are opportunities to practice patience. They are small reminders that we are not in control, that Allah's timing governs everything. If faced with patience, these little moments build spiritual muscles that prepare us for bigger trials. Nothing in life is wasted when we respond with sabr. The Qur'an reminds us again and again that with hardship comes ease. Notice, Allah does not say after hardship comes ease. He says with hardship comes ease. This means that even in the middle of a difficulty, there is already some form of ease, some form of blessing. It may be the strength you discover within yourself. It may be the support of loved ones you never noticed before. It may be the deepening of your faith. It may be the reward waiting for you in the hereafter, far greater than the difficulty you endured. The believer who is patient sees beyond the surface and trusts that every hardship has an ease attached to it. Sometimes the blessing of hardship is protection. Perhaps Allah removed something from your life that you thought was good for you, but in reality it would have harmed you. Perhaps a door was closed, not to punish you, but to redirect you to something better. We may not always see this immediately, but years later we often look back and realize that the trial was in fact a mercy. Patience during those times is what allows us to reach that realization with peace instead of regret. And sometimes the blessing of hardship is elevation. The Prophet taught us that the people who are tested the most are the prophets, then the righteous, then those after them in rank. The greater the hardship, the greater the opportunity for reward and closeness to Allah. Every tear you shed, every moment you hold back from complaining, every second you endure with patience, it is all recorded, and it elevates you in ways you cannot imagine. So, my brothers and sisters, the next time you face a difficulty, remind yourself, this is not meaningless. This is not without purpose. There is a blessing hidden here and a lesson meant for me. If I face it with patience, I will uncover its beauty. And if not in this world, then certainly in the hereafter, I will see how every hardship I endured with Sabr was in fact a door to Allah's mercy and reward. One of the greatest gifts that patience gives to a believer is peace within the heart. Life is full of storms of loss, storms of fear, storms of uncertainty, and when these storms come, many people are shaken to the core. They panic, they lose hope, they question their worth, and some even lose their connection to Allah. But the one who has Sabr holds a shield, a protection that keeps the storm from destroying their heart. Patience does not remove the pain instantly, but it prevents the pain from turning into despair. It allows the believer to face hardship with dignity and calmness, trusting that relief will come in due time. Think about despair for a moment. Despair is when you feel that nothing will ever change, that you are trapped forever, that you are alone, and that your prayers are unheard. It is the heaviest weight on the heart because it removes hope, and without hope the soul suffocates, but patience keeps that hope alive. When you say to yourself, I will be patient for the sake of Allah, and I will continue to trust Him, you are protecting your heart from falling into the pit of hopelessness. You are reminding yourself that no storm lasts forever, and no difficulty exists without an end. That is why patience becomes a shield. It deflects the arrows of despair and replaces them with the light of hope. Patience is also the key to inner peace because it aligns you with the reality of life. We are not in control of everything. We cannot dictate when relief will come or when things will change. If we constantly fight against the decree of Allah, we only hurt ourselves more. But when we practice Sabr, we are saying, I accept what Allah has chosen for me at this moment. I trust His wisdom. I will not destroy my own peace by resisting what is beyond my control. That acceptance brings calmness to the soul, even while the difficulty remains. The storm may rage outside, but inside the believer's heart, there is a quiet lake of serenity because of their patience. Inner peace is not the absence of problems. Inner peace is the presence of patience in the middle of problems. When you are patient, you train your heart to remain calm, your tongue to remain clean from complaint, and your mind to remain focused on Allah's mercy. This does not mean you will never feel sadness or pain. Even the prophets felt sorrow. But patience ensures that your sadness does not turn into despair, and your pain does not lead you away from your Lord. Instead, it brings you closer, softens your heart, and allows you to see the bigger picture. A person who has Sabr does not break when difficulties come. They bend, they feel the wind, but they remain rooted like a strong tree. Others may collapse under the weight of their struggles, but the patient believer finds strength in reliance upon Allah. And because of this reliance, they enjoy an inner peace that others cannot understand. People may look at them and wonder, how do they stay so calm in such a situation? The answer is simple, it is Sabr. It is the shield that guards their heart from despair, the key that unlocks tranquility, and the secret that allows them to move forward when others are stuck. Despair whispers, you are finished, there is no way out, there is no point in trying. But patience whispers, Allah is with me, this is temporary, relief is coming. Despair tries to darken the future, but patience keeps the light shining. Despair paralyzes the believer, but patience empowers them to keep going. When you wear the armor of Sabr, despair may knock at the door of your heart, but it will never be allowed inside. The Qur'an tells us that Allah is with the patient. Imagine that the Lord of the worlds, the one who controls every outcome, has promised his companionship to those who remain steadfast. With that companionship comes peace. You are never alone, never abandoned, never forgotten. Patience opens the door to this closeness, and that closeness is the ultimate cure for despair. No matter what happens, you remind yourself, if Allah is with me, I can never be truly broken. That thought alone calms the heart, removes fear, and fills the soul with peace. So, my brothers and sisters, if you desire peace in your heart, hold on to patience. If you want to protect yourself from despair, strengthen your Sabr. Life will never be free of trials, but your heart can always be free of restlessness if you master patience. The storms may not stop, but you will learn how to walk through them with a heart that is unshaken, a mind that is clear, and a soul that is always connected to Allah. This is the power of Sabr, the key to inner peace, and the shield against despair. When calamity strikes, it often comes suddenly. One moment, life seems normal, and in the next, you are facing news that changes everything: the loss of a loved one, the failure of a plan, an illness, a betrayal, or a disaster that leaves you shaken. In those first moments, emotions are raw and the pain is sharp. That is the moment where true patience is tested. It is easy to speak words of faith after the pain has softened, after days or weeks have passed. But the real test of Sabr is at the very first strike of calamity, when the wound is fresh and the heart is bleeding. That moment reveals the depth of our trust in Allah. Why is the first strike so important? Because it is when our natural reaction surfaces. It is when anger, panic, or despair wants to take control. Some may cry out in words of complaint against Allah, some may fall into hopelessness, and some may lash out in frustration. But the believer who has trained their heart in patience chooses differently. At that very first strike, they say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, to Allah we belong, and to Him we shall return. These words are not just a statement of faith, they are an anchor that holds the heart steady when the waves of grief are strongest. True patience is not about pretending you are not hurt. It is not about being emotionless. Even the Prophet shed tears at the loss of his loved ones. Sabr does not mean the absence of grief, it means controlling your response in the middle of grief. At the first strike, instead of speaking words you may later regret, you hold your tongue. Instead of blaming Allah, you remind yourself of His wisdom. Instead of letting despair overtake you, you hold on to hope that relief will come. That initial moment of restraint is what defines true Sabr. Think of it like a fire. When it first breaks out, it is small, but powerful enough to spread quickly. If you act with wisdom in that first moment, you can control it before it destroys everything. But if you let it burn unchecked, it becomes harder to contain. The same is true with calamity. At the first strike, your response either brings peace or magnifies your suffering. Patience at the beginning keeps the fire of despair from spreading and consuming your heart. Many of us, after time passes, learn to accept our trials. Days later, we tell ourselves it was Allah's decree and I must accept it. That is good, but it is not the highest level of patience. The highest level is immediate submission at the first strike. It is saying, "Ya Allah, I accept your decree," even when tears are falling, even when your heart is trembling. That instant surrender shows a heart that is deeply connected to Allah, a heart that trusts Him even in the darkest hour. This does not mean you cannot feel pain. Islam does not ask us to suppress our emotions. The Prophet himself said, "The eyes shed tears, the heart feels sadness, but we do not say except that which pleases Allah." This is the essence of true Sabr at the first strike. You acknowledge your pain, you allow your tears to flow, but you restrain your tongue from complaint and your heart from rebellion. That balance between grief and submission is the mark of a strong believer. The beauty of patience at the first strike is that it transforms the entire experience of hardship. Instead of dragging yourself through weeks of resentment before finally accepting Allah's will, you begin with acceptance from the start. This allows you to heal faster, to find meaning sooner, and to maintain peace in your heart even while carrying pain. It shields you from regret, because you know you did not say or do anything in those first moments that would distance you from Allah. Imagine two people facing the same loss. One cries out in anger, questions Allah, and loses themselves in despair. Later, they repent and find peace, but their heart carries the scars of those first reactions. The other person, though equally pained, whispers words of remembrance and trusts Allah immediately. Their heart still grieves, but it remains soft, connected, and full of faith. Both may eventually heal, but the one who practiced Sabr at the first strike carries a light within them that the other does not. So, my brothers and sisters, train your hearts now. Do not wait for calamity to come before learning patience. Build your trust in Allah daily, strengthen your connection with Him, so that when the first strike of hardship comes, your immediate reaction is remembrance, not complaint, hope, not despair. True patience is not tested when life is easy. It is revealed in those first painful moments when everything seems to fall apart. If at that very moment you can say, "O Allah, I trust you," then you have unlocked the highest form of Sabr. Patience and gratitude are like two wings of a bird. Just as a bird cannot fly with one wing, faith cannot be complete with only one of them. When life brings blessings, the believer responds with gratitude. When life brings trials, the believer responds with patience. Between the two, the heart remains balanced and the believer continues to rise spiritually. This balance is what makes a person steady, firm, and close to Allah in every season of life. Many people think gratitude and patience are opposites, but in truth, they are deeply connected. Gratitude is a form of patience in times of ease, and patience is a form of gratitude in times of hardship. When you are thankful, you are patient with the blessings you have. You do not misuse them. You do not become arrogant, and you recognize that they came from Allah. And when you are patient in trials, you are in fact showing gratitude that Allah trusted you with a test that can elevate your status. Both qualities reflect a heart that acknowledges Allah in every situation. Think about it this way: when you are healthy, your gratitude is to use your health in the obedience of Allah. When you are ill, your patience is to bear the sickness with trust in Allah. When you are wealthy, your gratitude is to share and not become greedy. When you are struggling financially, your patience is to avoid complaint and continue striving with dignity. No matter the condition, a believer is never empty-handed. They always have a response that connects them to their Lord. The Prophet said, "How amazing is the affair of the believer! For him there is good in everything, and this is only for the believer. If he is in ease and comfort and thanks Allah, there is good for him. If he is in hardship and shows patience, there is good for him." This hadith beautifully ties gratitude and patience together. It tells us that no matter what happens in life, the believer wins as long as they respond with sabr or shukr. That is why both are pillars of faith. They turn every circumstance into an opportunity to earn Allah's pleasure. Gratitude without patience is shallow. Imagine a person who says Alhamdulillah when life is easy, but the moment hardship strikes, they fall apart and complain against Allah. That is not true gratitude. And patience without gratitude can also be incomplete, because a person may endure trials but forget to appreciate the blessings that remain. The complete believer trains their heart to see both sides, patience in trials and gratitude in ease. Together, they create a faith that cannot be shaken. Even in hardship, gratitude and patience exist side by side. When something is taken from you, patience holds you firm, but gratitude reminds you of what you still have. You may lose money, but you still have health. You may lose health, but you still have faith. You may lose a loved one, but you still have Allah, who is closer to you than anyone. This perspective prevents despair. It teaches you to always find light, even in the darkest times. That light is what keeps the heart alive and connected. Patience also deepens gratitude. When you endure a trial with Sabr, the day relief comes, your gratitude becomes stronger than it ever could have been without that hardship. A person who has been hungry appreciates food more than someone who has never felt hunger. A person who has been ill values health more than someone who has never been sick. Hardship teaches us not to take blessings for granted. It opens our eyes to favors we once overlooked. Thus, patience is a teacher, and gratitude is the fruit it produces, and gratitude fuels patience as well. When you remember the countless blessings you already have, you find strength to endure what you have lost. When you remember the favors of Allah, the gift of guidance, the gift of life, the gift of every heartbeat and breath, you realize that no trial can ever outweigh His generosity. That realization fills your heart with strength, making patience easier. Gratitude becomes the nourishment that allows patience to grow. So, my brothers and sisters, do not separate Sabr from Shukr. They are two sides of the same coin, two supports of the same structure. Together, they make your faith unshakable. If you are patient without gratitude, you may endure but remain restless. If you are grateful without patience, you may rejoice in blessings but collapse in trials. But when you hold both firmly, you find peace in every season of life. You rise above circumstances because you know that whether Allah gives or withholds, He is always giving you what is best. My beloved brothers and sisters, patience is not just a word we speak, it is a way of life. It is the strength that carries us through storms, the shield that protects us from despair, and the key that unlocks inner peace. It is patience that transforms hardship into growth, sorrow into closeness to Allah, and loss into eternal reward. Every test you face is not meant to break you, but to shape you, to cleanse you, and to elevate you. The one who holds on to Sabr holds on to a rope that will never snap, because Allah Himself is with those who are patient. As you walk through life, remember that both blessings and trials are opportunities. Blessings demand gratitude, and trials demand patience. If you master these two, you will always remain in a state of goodness. No pain is wasted, no tear goes unnoticed, and no effort is overlooked when done for the sake of Allah. Patience is not weakness, it is a sign of true strength and faith. So when the first strike of calamity comes, hold firm. When blessings come, give thanks. When delays come, trust Allah's timing. And when your heart trembles, remind yourself that nothing happens except by the will of the one who loves you more than anyone else. With Sabr, you will never be broken, because every step you take in patience is a step closer to your Lord. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters, for giving me your time and your heart. May Allah grant us all the strength of patience, the sweetness of gratitude, and the tranquility of faith. May He make us among those who rise above trials and shine through them. Ameen.